How's it going, everybody? Matt with Midwest Shooting Center here with your Training Tip Tuesday. We're going to be working pretty hard with the training department here between myself and Trey Ward to put together great tips for you guys as responsible firearms owners. Today, we're going to be focusing on the three most important fundamentals of firearm safety. Always keep that gun pointed in a safe direction. Always keep that finger off the trigger until we're ready to shoot. Always keep that gun unloaded until we're ready to use it. If we can follow these three rules in this basic order every single time we handle a firearm, we should never have an issue of a negligent discharge. So as I go ahead and face down range here, you guys, as my gun comes out of my holster, it's immediately going to be pointed down range towards my targets. This makes sure that if there ever is an issue, it is pointed in a safe direction. As quickly as I'm getting my hand on that gun, that finger is going to rest far, far, far away from that trigger on the side of the frame, if not all the way up and onto that slide. This makes sure that if I ever have a slip, fall, or anything else, I'm not going to be grabbing that trigger and having a negligent discharge. Lastly, we want to make sure that this gun is unloaded until we're ready to use it. Anytime we want to do that, we should always verify your firearm two different ways. The first is going to be visually. So as I open up that action, I'm going to look down into that magazine well, down to the back of the chamber of the barrel. I do not see a round, but lighting can sometimes be tricky, you guys, so we always want to go ahead and do a physical verification as well. I've checked it visually, physically, and I'm always going to treat it as if it's loaded anytime. Hope you guys enjoyed that tip, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
How's it going, guys? Trey from Midwest Shooting Center here today with another Tuesday training tip. Here to talk to you a little about the importance of setting a proper grip. So a couple of the most common things that I see out on the range is one, not having this firing hand high enough up on the gun, okay? If you have that kind of gap right there, that starts to make this gun bounce around unnecessarily, not giving up as much leverage as we need on the gun. When instead, I want to get the webbing of this hand as high up under this hang of the gun as I can right here, so that as this gun starts to fire, I have a lot more leverage over it. The second thing I see a lot of times is not exactly knowing what to do with the support hand, right? I'll see the saucer and teacup, or coming around the back, or the guy that grew up with revolvers, or some other variation, right? When instead, we need to be getting this hand, again, as high up on the side of the gun as we possibly can. So I'm going to give myself a thumbs up right here, bring the support hand up, rotate it forward, getting this wrist parallel to the ground, plant it right here on the side, giving me some friction as this gun goes to recoil, okay? These other fingers are just going to wrap right around in the grooves of this hand right here. And then finally, this thumb is going to be digging into the kind of ledge of the gun right here, pointed at my target. Last but not least, this thumb is going to come and sit right down on top of this hand. If my gun has a manual safety, at that point, I'm flipping that safety down as I present onto my target. So by kind of getting this grip, this is going to allow you to effectively manage that recoil a lot better. So that it comes straight up, straight back down on the target, and it's not doing anything wagging away. Hope that helps, guys. Throw this kind of stuff into your dry fire and as you guys come out to the range. As always, train with purpose, and I'll catch you next week.
What's up, everybody? Matt with Midwest Shooting Center here with your Training Tip Tuesday. Today we're going to be focusing on trigger control. So when it comes to my trigger press, it's probably one of the biggest fundamentals that can cause the most amount of inaccuracy for me as a shooter. I want to make sure that as I place my finger on that trigger that I've got it nice and center on that tab of my trigger finger here, you guys. If I end up towards the left of my finger, that tip or the knuckle, I can end up pushing left or right every single time I press that shot. I want to make sure it stays nice and center there for me. Once I've accomplished that, now we get to deal with that take up that we have, that slack we have in the trigger before we hit that wall. We want to make sure that we press this trigger straight rearward in a smooth and continuous movement. In doing so, by the time the trigger press is done and accomplished, pressing smooth through that wall, my aligned sights are not affected whatsoever by the press of that trigger. So what we're trying to avoid here, you guys, is that fast rip through of the trigger that ends up with that anticipation. So we're here and we rip through and that whole front barrel dips down, okay? What we want to have instead is to find that slack, find the wall, smooth, increase that pressure through the wall as we breathe. Minimal to no movement of my aligned sights by the time I'm done shooting, okay? Make sure you guys throw this into your dry fire training. Dry fire is always free, so we love that stuff there, you guys. Train with purpose, as always. We look forward to seeing you guys at the range.
How's it going, guys? Trey from Midwest Shooting Center here today with another Tuesday training tip. Last week we talked about trigger press. So getting that trigger on the wall and pressing through the wall as opposed to just kind of slapping on it all the way out here. So now as a continuation of that, we're going to talk about resetting our trigger, or getting the gun back in a position of readiness. So what I'm sure a lot of you guys are already doing is taking our shot and then waiting for our gun to cycle before letting it out, hearing that click, take another shot. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're just going for dead accuracy, for bullseye accuracy, whatever, that's fine. And also what that's going to kind of help you do is build a muscle memory of where exactly that reset is. If you're trying to get to where you can shoot faster, however, I would not recommend pinning the trigger to the rear for a few reasons. If I'm trying to shoot quicker, I want to get this gun back in a position of readiness to shoot as quickly as I can, which means that as I'm shooting, my gun cycles, no click. I'm getting this gun back in a position of readiness, resetting it as the gun is cycling, so that way it is ready to shoot exactly when I am. However, what I'm not doing is coming way off the face of the trigger and smacking back on it. So by building the muscle memory of finding where exactly that reset is, that's going to help you when you're going to cycle the gun faster in order to get the gun back in a position of readiness without coming off the face of the trigger, slapping back on and throwing off our accuracy. I hope that helps, guys. If you're trying to shoot a little bit faster, I would definitely recommend trying to just reset the trigger as you're shooting, even just a slow fire. Start to build the muscle memory of resetting it as you're shooting without coming off the face, and that's definitely going to help you guys out a lot. So, as always, guys, train with purpose. I'll catch you next week.